Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Reya Singh and I have been successfully reality shifting for over 3 years. We all know that most of the shifting community resides on social media. Most of the things and information we find are usually on places like YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok especially. While this is okay and great, there's a lot of misinformation that is spread throughout the community without us sometimes acknowledging it, and we take it in. In this video, I'm going to be going over 25 different shifting misconceptions and clearing them up for you. The following misconceptions are things that I see daily in my DMs, in my comments, people saying them in videos, posting about them themselves. So if these misconceptions you already understand and know and have another one that you would like to ask me, make sure to drop it down in the comments and maybe somebody or I will respond to you and let you know what the truth is. Let's begin. Number 1, the misconception that you cannot move when shifting. While this is true to some extent, it is not true completely. Firstly, let me explain to you where this misconception came from and how it may be true in some instances. When you're shifting, let's say you're doing a sleep method, correct? Or awake method, doesn't matter. And you're in some train of thought where you are very close to connecting to your DR, or you're on the path of connecting to your DR and fully shifting. But in that moment, you decide that you feel too tired, or you feel an urge to just move, and you end up shifting your position in your bed or moving your arm to the side. The only reason why people say not to move is because that one movement could bring you out of that train of thought. Let me explain. When you're trying to shift, you are connecting to basically like a different world. Somewhere where you might be wearing something different, somewhere where you might be sitting in a different place or laying in a different place, feeling like a different person. Yet when you move your position or whatnot, you kind of end up attaching yourself back to this reality because almost all 5 of your senses come into contact with whatever you were trying to kind of escape from here. When shifting, what we're trying to do is basically manipulate all 5 of our senses in this reality to feel like they're in that reality that you're trying to go to until we are truly there. And when you end up shifting your position or end up moving a little bit, you could bring yourself back and kind of disconnect from that train of thought that you were trying to create for yourself to shift. Though the reason why I say don't move is still a misconception is because even if you move, you will still be able to shift. No small amount of movement can stop you from shifting. If you move your arm or shift your position, yet you're still completely in the train of thought of trying to shift and still saying your affirmations or still connecting to your 5 senses, asking yourself questions, going through your method. And that kind of shift didn't stop sudden symptoms that were coming for you or didn't stop a certain feeling that was coming to you, then there is nothing stopping you. And even if a certain movement or a shift in your position or whatnot does pull you out of your train of thought and pull you out of the steps that you were doing to shift, you can always just pick right back up where you left off and get back into that trance of thought again. Because if you've experienced something once, then that definitely means that you can experience that thing again. Number 2, noise can disrupt your shifting. Now this is just absolutely false. This kind of ties into what we just talked about, how a certain movement can kind of remind you that you're still in your CR. And the same can happen when you hear something in your CR and it can remind you that you're still here. But I personally think noise will be the last thing stopping you from shifting. I personally live in a brown people full household with over 5 people and a little 7-year-old brother. And when I shifted, I believe he was 4 or 5 or something like that. It was a loud house. Yet even with all this commotion around me, and even my fan itself was loud, I remember, and I still shifted. When you get into that whole process of trying to shift, when you really get into it, all of these distractions kind of just fade away and you're only focusing on getting to your DR. And this is especially if you're shifting awake. Noise should not be disrupting you if you are shifting asleep because you are most likely going to shift once you fall asleep. So basically, the first thing that you wish for is to sleep. because the sleep is going to trigger your shift. But if you're doing an awake method and you're trying to shift while this noise is all around you and you are fully conscious, then it may be a little difficult if you're the type of person that gets distracted very quickly. But I'm here to tell you that it will not stop you from shifting, because obviously there comes a point where that noise will go away and you may still already be completely in your DR, but still be connected to some part of your CR where you're still hearing things here and there because you are still in the process of shifting. But once you're there, sometimes the noise goes away. Like shifting misconception number 3. Shifting shouldn't take long during a method. This is completely false. If you are doing sleep awake method, does not matter. Let's say for awake, for me personally, it would take, when I started out, 1 to 2 hours to fully shift into my DR while doing whatever method I was doing. And if you're doing a sleep method, you should anticipate for the same amount of time it should take you to fully fall asleep and then shift. I see people on the internet saying things like, I was shifting for a whole 30 minutes. I was trying for a whole 30 minutes and then I just rolled over and called it a night because I didn't get any symptoms. I didn't feel anything. I didn't shift. Well, maybe it would have taken you another hour and you would have fully got there. I would say it took me at least like an hour and 45 minutes to fully shift into my DR. And during that hour and 45 minutes, I was continuously trying to shift. And if I was losing my train of thought or if I was moving, I would just pick up right where I left off and continue. And there came a point, and that point only lasts like 5 minutes, where I started feeling like I'm shifting, like right now, like symptoms, all that. And in those 5 minutes, the feeling is kind of intense, and then snap, just like that, I shifted. I understand it's different for everybody. Maybe the symptoms and the feeling of shifting itself will be gradual for you, like start very small and then kind of crescendo its way into a very big feeling. But for me, it was like the last 5 minutes of my shift and I fully shifted. I bet you during that 1 hour and 45 minutes, I probably moved multiple times and I probably lost my train of thought multiple times, but I still just kept going and kept thinking and kept kind of keeping myself in this activity of shifting, like asking myself questions, saying affirmations, doing a part of the method I was doing at a different time, just keeping myself fully engaged in the fact that I want to be in my DR. So in the end, anticipate that the shift may take you 1 to 3 hours to fully shift into your DR, especially if you're shifting awake. And if you're shifting asleep, then you just fall asleep and shift once you have fallen asleep. Shifting misconception number 4. Shifting takes no effort. A lot of people may believe this, but I am against the fact that shifting takes no effort at all. Because if shifting took no effort at all, you watching this video probably wouldn't be watching this video. The people who are subscribed to me, the people who follow me on TikTok would not be watching my videos on a daily basis if it was so easy to shift. One of my most popular methods is the reprogramming your mind method. And daily people post videos and talk to me about it and things like that. And it's something that a lot of people have tried out, and a lot of people talk about, like, should I try it out? Should I do it? And there are some lovely people out there who like to tell them reprogramming isn't needed, it's something unnecessary, and it's absolutely false. While I can understand that reprogramming might feel unnecessary to you or not needed, I get that. It's not needed for everybody, but it is not false just because you can shift without it. People get so triggered on the internet when somebody tries to make an extraordinary tip or tries to kind of make something elaborate that might help with shifting, because they love to say, shifting is not overcomplicated, stop overcomplicating it. Well, a lot of people have not shifted yet. A lot of people struggle with shifting. So if it wasn't so complicated, if it wasn't so complex to do, then there wouldn't be the thousands of tips and tricks that are out there on the internet. Saying shifting takes no effort is like comparing it to, let's compare it to the fact that saying, it's so easy to be a billionaire. Well, sure, it is, but that's like saying you don't need to put any effort towards it. It's like telling somebody you can sit at home and become a billionaire. While this may be true for some people, somebody who's generationally wealthy, getting hand-downs, But it's not true for like the 80% of the working class that's working their ass off to become maybe even a millionaire. I'm never gonna sit here and tell you that shifting takes no effort, because I believe that there is some specific maybe effort that it would take you to shift. You can't just sit there and like just say, yep, I'm gonna shift and that's it. Even setting the intention, which people think is no effort shifting, is also effort, because setting the intention is not just rolling over and calling it a day. No, it's not. Setting the intention also takes effort. There's a lot of manifestation that goes into that. So when you think shifting takes no effort, what's a no effort route? People are like, just set the intention. Well, telling yourself I'm gonna shift and then going about your day is not setting the intention. That's just saying that you're gonna do something and not doing it then. And that brings me to misconception number 5, that intention is just telling what you want and then rolling over and going to bed, hoping that you will shift. I'm here to tell you intention has nothing to do with hope. Nothing. Hoping will get you nowhere. If I hope that one day I look like Megan Fox, doesn't mean that that hope is going to become something. You have to put in some kind of effort towards that hope for it to possibly come true. People believe intention or hope is just wishing for something and then waiting for it to happen. But when you hope or intend for something, it should be because you put some effort into that process, and now that you hope or you intend that that effort will become something. Let me give you an example. The intending or hoping that people see doing is like saying, like, I really hope that tomorrow I pass my exam, but then going to bed without studying it at all. Or the real setting the intention, the second part of the scenario, is like saying, I really hope that I will pass this exam tomorrow. I will pass this exam tomorrow. But internally hoping that that manifestation comes true, saying to yourself, I am going to pass that exam tomorrow, and having that hope that I am going to internally, but saying it because you have studied for that exam. That may have been difficult to understand, but what I'm saying here is that when you're setting the intention for something, it's because you put in some effort towards it. I personally think the best way to set the intention is by throughout the day, you're rehearsing that everything is bringing you closer to shifting. That this whole day is just leading up to the event that's happening, maybe that night or that evening or whenever you're shifting. And once you've done everything throughout that day, you're like, wow, like now it's time for me to shift. I'm getting to that event. And then if you go to bed after that, you know that you've processed the entire day only towards shifting. So you've put some effort in, and now you're saying, I am going to shift and that's it. And I'm going to do it because I did all of this in order to set the intention. But if you're just going about your day without having shifting in your mind, and then before bed you're saying, I hope I shift, or I will shift, period. But what have you done to set that intention? There's intention, but to set the intention, you must do something to lock it in place. Another misconception, this is number 6, that I also see that ties into this is shifting is as easy as breathing. We shift every second of our lives. Every decision is a shift. I'm here to tell you no. No. We absolutely do not shift every second of our lives. We do not shift every time we make a decision, okay? Everything is predetermined. Now you're gonna say, no, it's not. How do I know it's predetermined? As a shifter, you should believe that everything is predetermined. When we write a script, most of us have some kind of scenarios in our script, like, in the future, I will go on blah, blah, blah date with blah, blah, blah person, correct? And as time goes on in your DR, that event ends up happening. Because you are able to shift to a reality where an event will happen in the future that you've already thought of in the past, it's possible because everything is already predetermined in all these million, bajillion realities that exist. So when you make a decision, or when you do something in this reality, that was already predetermined. It was predetermined for you to do. So when you made a decision and that decision created an effect, you didn't shift realities. You just did what was intended for you to do in this reality. It's predetermined. You were basically pre-scripted. Yet, when you believe something to some extent, or you wish for something to some extent, or when you pray for something to some extent, and that thing basically forms out of thin air, then that's a shift. Like, let's say you want to lose weight, right? That's a very common manifestation I see a lot. That's a manifestation that I have done in the past and maybe will even continue doing. They will write down things like, I am losing weight, I am losing weight, I am at my goal weight, I am at my goal weight, and keep thinking that when they look at themselves in the mirror, when they step on the scale, they will tell themselves that I am my goal weight, I am losing weight, I am healthy, I am fit. And because maybe they're not putting in effort somewhere else, or because they're not doing enough that would actually make that wish come true naturally, but then they start seeing the results, that's a shift. Because they're saying something over and over and over again, they're basically speaking it into reality. Like, they're basically creating an entire manifestation with just the word of their mouth. And that's basically what we do to shift, right? We say affirmations, we visualize what we want, which is our DR, and then we end up shifting. We are creating that reality, or we're bringing ourselves to that reality just by believing in it so hard. But when people say that shifting is as easy as breathing, we do it every second of our lives, it's just simply not true, because everything you're doing in your life, when you think that a scenario is created or something different happens in your life, or when you take a decision, it changes some path in your life, that's not a shift. That's just what you're supposed to do in life. But if you put in a lot of effort towards believing in something, or you put in a lot of effort in changing your mindset towards something that changes another event in your life, that's a shift. Like, if you're continuously assuming and believing that you are going to get a boyfriend one day or a girlfriend one day, and you're sitting there thinking like, I'm gonna get a boyfriend or I'm gonna get a girlfriend no matter what, and that's it. I'm gonna stop thinking about it because I'm gonna get one next week. And in your head, you're literally getting excited, or you're feeling good about the fact that next week it's coming, period. And then it ends up happening in your time determined or a little later. That's how you shifted. That's a shift. You probably maybe even moved tiny realities, tiny realities, until you bring yourself to that reality while finally that girlfriend or that boyfriend hit, or you literally fully shifted into a reality where that happens in the next week to come because you manifested that. And a lot of people do this through prayers, or some people do this through just simply wishing, and it will manifest itself however you want. So if, let's say that you're praying to your God and you're praying so hard that you want something to happen, and then that happens, then you basically manifested that happens through the divine that you believe in. So let's say you're praying to Jesus that you are able to pass some kind of exam, right? And that's something common that I see. And then it ends up happening in the time that you determine. Then you know that you manifested through the energy that you were calling on. You were calling on your God's energy, and that energy helped you create the manifestation that you want. That's a shift. Because nothing is going to change in this reality. This reality stays as it's supposed to be. Unless you're supposed to get a boyfriend or pass an exam at a certain time, it's going to happen. But if you make something happen just by believing in it, just by talking about it, saying it over and over again, then that's you shifting, because you did it by creating that train of thought. Not everything is a shift, baby. Shifting misconception number 7. Not believing in the phenomenon of shifting can block you from shifting. This is probably the most common thing that you've heard, that the fact that you don't believe in shifting is probably causing you from shifting, but I'm here to tell you that's absolutely not true. Personally, when I was shifting, I believed in the fact that shifting was real. It was a good phenomenon, and I believed that it was something that is possible to be done. It exists, people do it. Yet I was still having a hard time shifting. The mindset that you need to believe in shifting and believe that it's real was something that could truly block you if you don't do that, then I would have probably shifted in like 2 to 3 days. People confuse you need to believe in shifting with you need to believe that you can shift. If you don't believe that you yourself personally can shift, then that will block you. But if you fully believe that you can do it, but you're still skeptical of the fact that if the phenomenon is even real, then that cannot block you. As long as you're not nervous with yourself and you're not feeling like, I'm the only person who can't do this, I'm probably the only person who's not going to achieve this, then that's something that's definitely going to block you. But if you're not feeling that way, if you're just a bit skeptical if shifting is a phenomenon that's just a lie overall, then that's fine. It's okay to have that doubt. But if it's being caused by the fact that you can't shift because you're being unsuccessful, because you feel bad about yourself, then that's definitely something that can block you from shifting. But overall, having doubts in the phenomenon itself cannot block you from shifting. This is misinformation. Shifting misconception number 8. No symptoms mean that you are not shifting. Let me explain to you what symptoms are, and maybe that'll help you understand why that is misinformation. The symptoms that you get while doing your method, while it be tingling, dizzy, floating, pain in the legs, or feeling like you're spinning, zooming in and out of places, these are all symptoms of your body trying to pull you out of the phenomenon. Every day you sleep, correct? And you sleep and you fall asleep. And people love to say that those are the symptoms of your body falling asleep. And personally, I don't believe that's true. I believe that when we are trying to shift, our body senses something different. Because we are manifesting at such a large rate, our body feels like we are doing something that kind of isn't supposed to be done. There's obviously something that is happening with our subconscious mind or conscious mind and our awareness. And when that phenomenon is happening, our body does not understand. It's kind of confused. And in order for you to basically lock in with this reality and basically attach yourself back to this reality, it will give you these type of symptoms to snap you out of it. When you get that sudden urge to move or these tingles and itches that will basically pull you completely out of your shift in order for you to itch it or move yourself to fix the symptom, is all because your body is trying to give you physiological signs that something is feeling off. I'm sure you've even commonly heard people say like, I was having so many symptoms and then blank happened and the symptoms faded away. Well, that's exactly what your body's trying to do too. It's making something happen in order for you to tell the body, hey, I'm okay, here's me moving. This is something that very commonly happens to meditators as well. When they're trying to meditate and trying to connect to a higher power, the body will do a lot of different things in order for them to kind of snap out of the trance that they're going into. I also know heart beating is a very common symptom, so that's also a symptom that the body kind of gives you, because when your heart beats fast, we usually connect that with like when we're running and we're not feeling good after that, and our heart beats really fast because it's working like overtime. Our heartbeat is usually fast when we're sick or when something is not right in the body, correct? So your body's heartbeat will get fast because it's kind of trying to stop you from this phenomenon happening, because it thinks it's like unhealthy for yourself, or it thinks that it's different and it's kind of attacking you for you to wake up. And the no symptoms thing, I hope you understand now, but the no symptoms thing, if you don't get any symptoms, that is probably because your body is now used to you attempting this every day, every week, every night, whatever it is. You probably commonly say, or other people commonly say, I used to get a lot of symptoms at first, but now I don't get any symptoms. Or I've never gotten any symptoms. That's just your body being okay with what you're doing. Like if you got a lot of symptoms at first, but then they kind of went away, well, now your body understands that this is something you practice on a daily basis. Your subconscious mind, your conscious mind has registered this as something normal. And now your body is basically not trying to attack itself for you to wake up, because it understands this is a common phenomenon for you and your mindset. I'd say it's honestly a good thing not to get symptoms, because now you simply don't have something distracting you from what you want to do. Shifting misconception number 8. You need methods to shift. I hope that if you've been in the community long enough, you know that this isn't true, that you do not need methods to shift, and that you can shift without a method or with your own method. But if you're still the type of person that thinks that a method is necessary for you, let me explain to you what a method really is. Let's say I'm baking a cake, correct? And I have this whole recipe on 3 eggs, 2 cups of sugar, half a cup of milk, or whatever it is. And I'm using that recipe to bake a cake. But now I have a job as a baker, and I'm baking this cake every single day. And I understand what the sugar means in this recipe. I understand what the flour means. So now I am so advanced that I understand if I add a little bit of this or a little less of this, I'll still be okay, because I understand what all these ingredients in this recipe mean. And sometimes, now that I'm so advanced, I can switch up the recipe, add new things, remove some things, because I know how to bake this cake now. Methods work quite literally the same way. Once you know how to shift by using methods, they are like the recipe. Once you know how to do it, you can switch up things, you can remove things, add things, basically create your own method. People think methods are the only way to go, that you must use a method and this is like the predetermined way to shift. And one of these literal methods is going to make you shift. But once you know how to do the act of shifting and you kind of get the gist of what goes into what method and what makes a method successful, like what the techniques are, you can switch things around, create your own, or not even use one at all. Because methods were just made to kind of give us directions on how to start, but they aren't for like long-term use. A specific method is not going to make you shift. I mean, a specific method can make you shift, but it's not always the key. Okay, going into actual methods and talking about a lot of the misconceptions that people have with them, like between sleep and awake, I'm just going to explain to you what a sleep method means and what an awake method means. By the way, I think this is number 10. When doing a sleep method, you should be doing whatever method you're doing. And in the middle of that method, the end of the method, even the beginning of the method, you should anticipate that the sleep that you will get when you fall asleep, that's going to trigger your shift. And a lot of people have the misconception that they have to fall asleep at the end of their method when they're finished, and they will shift as they fall asleep. But that's not true. A sleep method means that sleep will trigger the shift, no matter at what point of your method you fall asleep at. Even if you just started your method and you end up falling asleep, your intention should be that whatever sleep I get, whenever I get it, it's going to trigger my shift. So I no longer want to hear anybody say, I'm having a very hard time with shifting because I keep falling asleep and I get tired. Well, that's completely okay. If you are doing sleep methods and you're falling asleep during your method, that's what's supposed to happen. And once you fall asleep, you should anticipate that that sleep is going to trigger your shift. That once you fall asleep and you're in sleep, you're going to end up shifting and wake up in your DR. Awake methods are obviously continuing your method. Keep going and going and going. Even if your method is too short, repeating it again or starting something new until you fully shift. You keep going until you're fully there. If your problem is, I can't fall asleep when I'm doing a method, well then you should use that to your advantage and do an awake method. That way you're able to stay up for that long and complete the full awake method until you actually shift. Number 11. Shifting is moving your consciousness or your subconsciousness physically to a different reality. While there are lots of perspectives to shifting, and I get where this misconception may have come from, but let me explain to you what I think and how I think shifting actually works. Okay, this hand is the entire universe, okay? All of the thousands, bajillions, infinity realities, okay? Our consciousness, subconsciousness, whatever, is spread across the entire universe like this hand. So this entire consciousness does not only pertain to this reality, it's quite literally everywhere. But our awareness is one tiny little speck, one tiny little cell of this entire consciousness. So when I am here, okay, this is my entire consciousness, I am aware of this tiny speck, but I would like to shift to a different reality. You are going to move your awareness to a different part of your already existing consciousness. So your consciousness is already existing in a different reality. You are already a person in a different reality. Your personality there, your life, world, whatever there already exists. But you're currently kind of awake, kind of aware in this reality. And now you're switching that awareness to a different part of your own self. So we don't physically move our consciousness anywhere because our consciousness is already there. We're moving our awareness from one point to another. Number 12. This one is kind of short. You cannot bring things back from your DR. You cannot. The common misconception is that it is possible to maybe bring back items. I see some people, I feel like this is more resolved in the shifting community, but I still want to put this out there, that it's impossible to bring back physical objects to this reality. Unless you go to a different version of your CR where you were able to bring that certain object back or have that certain object there, then it is possible. But if you are coming back to this exact reality where that item that you want to bring back is not here, then it is simply impossible to bring that from your DR. I feel like this misconception is kind of resolved on TikTok and YouTube, but I sometimes do go on Reddit or like Tumblr or Twitter, and there are people saying stuff like that, and I just want to put this out there for any of my audience that still may believe that you can bring back objects. Number 13 is also kind of similarly simple, but a larger fear of a lot of people, that you can get stuck in your desired reality. This is simply not true. You guys treat shifting like you can get lost in this other reality. You are attached to this reality, this CR. You were born here. Your awareness has resided here for a way longer period of time. So when you shift, you know that this reality exists. You're from there. You know that you were able to exist from that reality. So that's why when you think of your CR and your DR, you're easily able to come back. A lot of people like to give the argument like, sometimes it's hard to shift to our DR, so how would it not be hard to shift back to our CR? That's simply because your DR is not that authentic to you. It's not that like real to you. It's not original to you. You're not familiar with it. But your CR, you're completely familiar with your physical body, your mental body, whatever it is. And when you try to shift back, it's way easier. You can do it just by simply thinking of your CR and simply connecting yourself to a minor part of your CR, because your entire being feels that it's connected to that place. So in the end, simply, you cannot get stuck in your DR, your waiting room, wherever you are. You will always be able to come back to your CR. It's very easy to do so. Number 14, something very commonly I see everywhere is that people think that shifting only pertains to fictional realities, And this is a huge topic that we kind of get clowned on in this community, that we are some Harry Potter shifters or want to go make out with Draco Malfoy. Well, this is just not true. I feel like because our community pertains of a very younger generation, they're more wanting to go to a fictional reality. When I say fictional, I mean based off of something that's fictional here, like Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, I don't know, Princess Diaries or something like that. But it's just because of the community's preferences. But it's absolutely not true that you can't go to a reality that there is an idea of it here. Even if you don't believe this, I get a lot of messages that are like, can I create my own reality? Well, every single reality that you could possibly think of exists somewhere out there, and you're able to shift there. So if you want to create or script a reality, like that's a way better version of your CR and shift there, that's completely real and true and able to be done. If you want to shift to a reality that's the same as this, but you're a celebrity there, that's absolutely... I'm not really sure why people would think that you can only go to fictional based realities when shifting pertains to the entire multiverse that contains infinity realities, right? We don't even have like an infinite amount of fictional realms that we know in this lifeline, in this CR. We know probably like 2,000 at most, like that you could pick out of movies and books and TV shows and things like that. You can always create your own version of a reality that you want to go to. You're not necessarily creating it, but an idea of it that you want to shift to because it already exists out there. Like a lot of people ask, can I shift to a reality where somebody who's passed away still is living there and I would like to meet them and speak to them? That is absolutely great. You can do that. Number 15, the irrational fear that you can accidentally shift to a reality that you do not want to go to. Since we literally know intention is everything and that intention plays a huge part in shifting, we know that if we don't intend to go somewhere, we're literally not going to go there. Even when we intend to go somewhere, it's hard to shift, correct? So why would it be so easy to shift to a place where your brain literally does not want to go? This fear may have came from hearing stories of people shifting to traumatic, scary, weird places. but they definitely thought somewhere that they wanted to go there. Like, for example, I have shifted to Bird Box before, and I have publicized that that was one of my most traumatizing shifts. And a lot of people are like, oh my god, this scares me, what if this happens to me? But I was one day watching TV on my bed, and I honestly couldn't find anything to watch that I liked. And the last thing that I saw on my TV was Bird Box. And usually when I'm looking at movies and TV shows, I always have a thought like, I could shift here, I could do this, because I'm a shifter, obviously. I think about this kind of stuff. And Bird Box was the last thing I saw on my TV, and I, again, thought, what would it be like to shift there? That's kind of cool. Like, I wonder what they saw in the movie, whatever the movie's based on. And I immediately fell asleep after that because I was very drowsy. I was basically already drifting to sleep. And that was the last thing on my mind, and I ended up shifting there. Oh, yes, basically I did intend to shift there because I was imagining what it would be like to shift there. And because I have been shifting for so long, I'm kind of prone to shifting. I accidentally shift a lot because, number one, I know I can do it. Number two, I know it's real. Number three, because I do it a lot, I'm just mentally always prepared for it, and I'm mentally always ready to do it because I do it a lot. There are many places that I've accidentally shifted to, and most of them were not even scary or anything like that. Most of them were places that I would want to actually go to in the future. Like, sometimes I'd be working on a script to a place I wanted to go to, and end up shifting there early before I'm even done with the script because I was putting in so much attention toward that I just ended up shifting there before I was even ready. It is a complete misconception that you can shift to a reality accidentally without the intention for it while even hating that reality. It's just not possible. Yes, accidentally shifting does become more common as you become an advanced shifter, but that's just kind of like one of the perks of it, honestly. Number 16, part 1. You can't permanently shift. This is absolutely false. You absolutely can permanently shift. There's no timeline to shifting. If you want to go to a different reality and stay there until your life's end or be immortal there or whatever you want, it is absolutely possible. Some people say that it's not, like you'll always be connected to your CR, or if you wake up in your CR, you'll come back. It's just not true. Like, I could stay there forever if I want, and probably one day I will end up deciding to do that. But I just want to say, number 16, part 1, that it is absolutely possible to permanently shift. Number 16, part 2, there are no downsides to permanently shifting. Now, I fully support permanently shifting. I will probably one day permanently shift myself, but I think it's false that there are no downsides to permanently shifting. There are some downsides to permanently shifting if you end up wanting to come back. I'd say that permanently shifting is a big decision because you have decided to forever leave the reality that you came from. But in the end, it doesn't really matter. If you want to do that, if that makes you happy, amazing. But a lot of the times, people decide that they do want to come back. Either they miss their CR, or they just decide that they would like to balance both realities and just don't want to stay only there. Well, let me explain to you what the downside to that is. Let's say that on a Wednesday night, your mom told you tomorrow, Thursday morning, you have to go get me these 20 things on my grocery list. Okay, tomorrow, Thursday morning. She tells you the whole list and you have to go get it. Then that Wednesday night later, you end up permanently shifting. Okay, you have permanently shifted without a time ratio with a time ratio, for like a year. Okay, you permanently shifted for 2 years, and then you want to come back. You can't come back in the same night because of your time ratio. You come back, and that Thursday morning, your mother's like, where's the groceries? You're not going to remember what the heck your mom said to you the day before because you have spent 1 to 2 years in this other reality. But your mother literally thinks it's been one night, and you have these responsibilities that you have to do the next day. You're going to have a hard time remembering what you need to do and what has been happening the past 2 months. Honestly, sit here right now and tell me what you were doing in 2021 on March 26th at 7 p.m. I can't even tell you. I believe that this is one of the only actual downsides to permanently shifting, and I feel like I know a lot of people who have struggled with this, who shifted for such a long period of time, and just be careful with that. Okay, my least favorite shifting misconception, that mini shifting is slightly shifting to your DR. When people mini shift, they treat it like they were only slightly in their DR, that they basically were halfway there or something like that. But the term mini shifting means shifting, but only for a small period of time. Because usually what happens in mini shifting is that you shift for a small period of time and then something happens, you get re-grounded in your CR, you weren't able to get grounded in your DR, and you end up coming back without your will. A lot of people feel that when they hear something, or that when they end up opening their eyes and they like slightly see their DR, when they have like a tiny experience that may have connected them to their DR, that they mini shifted, this could be just called a slight shift, like you were in the process of shifting. But a mini shift is when you fully shift and are fully in your DR, and then you end up just not being grounded and shift back without your own will. And when you do that mini shift where you fully shifted and we're only there for a couple minutes, that's not just like a mini shift. I didn't really shift, I mini shifted. That's still a shift. The word mini just means just stands for the duration of time. We added the word mini to explain the duration of time. Mini doesn't mean slightly shifting, it means the duration of time. So you fully shifted for a mini amount of time. Shifting misconception 18, I have zero clue where this came from. I feel like this has been circulating for the longest time, and that it's the fact that time ratios, like big time ratios, will drain you. A lot of the time when I tell people my time ratio is 1 second here is a month there, people be like, oh my god, isn't that draining? No way. What is the stigma around having a big time ratio? It literally makes no difference. I understand where the misconception that the time ratio, like a big time ratio, will drain you. Spending a long period of time there and coming back in a second isn't going to drain you. Maybe if you're mentally unstable and you come back in the same amount of time after spending all that time, and then you have all these memories within that second, you can feel maybe unstable. But if you're like a normal person and then you spend all that time and come back within a second, it's gonna be the same as coming back in 5 hours, because you still came back in the same night. You won't even tell when you came back. I don't understand where that came from. Maybe it happens to some people, maybe I'm being bad and giving you misinformation, but never in my life has a time ratio drained me. I've asked multiple people who shift, and never in their life have they told me that a time ratio has drained them. I feel like maybe somebody had a big time ratio and they ended up getting drained from their shift because of events that happened, and they were just tired of everything, just exhausted overall mentally, and they correlated that with their time ratio. Misconception number 19. I feel like this is something that's just created in the shifting community, and I think you guys we just created this and people don't really know. It's not misinformation, it's just that something I think you guys need to know that is misinterpreted, I guess, that you need to connect to your DR rather than your DR self. I feel like people take too much time towards connecting to their DR and connecting to the place that they're going rather than connecting to the person that they're going to become. Imagine that you have to go to an event, right? Are you going to get yourself ready, practice how you're gonna behave, completely get into the feel of going to this event, how it's going to be, or search up pictures of the banquet hall of the event and look at what the chairs look like and the tables and all this kind of stuff? Usually we have a lot of skills and traits and maybe even feature changes scripted in for our DR. And when shifting, people usually tend to think of scenarios and things like that when trying to connect to their DR, They try to think of the atmosphere and the setting. Well, this is good, but I feel like people spend all their time during their method or all their time during the day thinking and connecting to that when we should be trying to connect to our DR self, because we are completely changing ourselves. We are basically getting into a new body, because even a slight personality change is a different person. So I feel like the biggest misconception here is that in order to fully shift, that we only need to focus on our DR. But I think that we should put in some effort into connecting with our DR self and at least knowing how it would be to be that person. Number 20 also kind of connects to this. As I said, a lot of people like focusing on scenarios and their DR as a whole and just think of bits and tits over here. I just said a bad word. So basically, people like to think of little pieces of their DR and pull from scenarios and other things that they have scripted of their DR room, while this is great, okay, thinking of your DR, connecting to any part of your DR is great. But I think people need to start visualizing the exact place that they want to wake up. When going to a destination, you're not going to think of the entire city that you're going to. You're going to think of the exact place that you're going to. So when shifting, you should be thinking and visualizing the 360 view of what you're going to see when you shift. So the second you get up from your shift, let's say it's your DR bedroom, the second you get out of that DR bed, you should be visualizing whatever's going to be around you, including visualizing what's on top of you. What are your sheets, your pillow? What are you wearing? What do you look like laying in your DR bed? What's around you? What does it smell like? What do you hear directly in that bubble that you were trying to shift to? Because that bubble you're visualizing is already connected to that DR in a whole, right? It's already there, part of that place. But when you visualize that specific area, it's going to actually help you change your surroundings and shift to that place. Number 21, that learning a skill in your DR is easy. All you have to do is script that you have it there and you can come back with it right away. Let's say that you want the skill to be able to speak French. If you script in your DR that you can speak French, you will probably be able to speak French. The variation may probably be there and may be a little bit different, but you will probably be able to speak it pretty closely. But if you just immediately come back within a couple of days of like speaking in your DR, you're not going to be very good at it in your CR. You may be able to speak some phrases here and there and be able to speak some things that you remember from there, but you're not going to be completely fluent. But what you can do is script that you are going to learn French in this different reality and you're going to learn it with lots of love and very quickly, and you're going to love learning it. That it's going to take you a month to fully learn every single word, every single part of whatever dialect you want, and be very good at it and fluent at it by learning it over the course of a month very quickly. That when somebody teaches you, you automatically remember how it works and are able to speak it. Now, when you come back here, your brain also remembers how you learned it and is able to recall on the memory that you created through learning. You may have some hard time speaking it and being a little fluent because speaking and doing any skill usually requires some kind of muscle memory and some kind of fluency in your body as well. So it may take like another week for you to get it locked in here, but you will know how to speak it mentally at least. And something a lot of people ask is the language going to be the same there? For example, let's say that I watch a lot of French movies and TV shows. You've heard language, you've been connecting that language to the subtitles that you read, and you know it to a certain extent. Now your subconscious mind has basically got it locked in. I personally watch a lot of French movies and TV shows and things like that because I love the way the language sounds. Now, if I am to learn it, which I am doing currently and have been doing since a while, I would be able to do it because I've heard the language so much in these TV shows and movies. Subconscious mind to some extent remembers everything. Not even to some extent, literally remembers everything I've heard from whatever I've been watching. If you're trying to learn a skill, you're probably going to have to watch something. Like, let's say you want to learn the guitar in a different reality. As long as you've watched the guitar being played somewhere to some certain extent, you're going to be able to do it and learn it in your DR. Kind of complicated to explain, but it is possible. You can't simply just script that you already know it and immediately come back with the skill. Number 22, shifting is against some religions. Like I said earlier, you already exist in whatever reality you are trying to go to. Your consciousness is spread across the entire universe. So whatever reality you're trying to go to, you are basically already there. So if you shift your awareness to a different part of yourself, it cannot be against your religion. It is not a demonic practice. It is not something that is witchcraft or something of the sort. It's just not. If you believe in some type of God here or some type of religion that you practice, you can easily be connected to that practice and that God in that different reality. You can even script that you are more connected and more devoted to whatever religion that you practice in that reality and feel more content with yourself. You can script that you do nothing in this different reality that would go against your religion just for extra precaution to keep your mind set and safe. Shifting is not against any religion unless it specifically says is reality shifting is against blank religion. It's just not. You are moving your awareness to a different reality. Unless your religion literally says that reality shifting is not allowed, it's simply like I said, you reality shift when you wish for something. Misconception number 23. Shifting is a skill that you have to develop. Shifting is a skill that we all have, but it's like dormant. Let's say that there was a skill that you learned a long time ago, but you just have not been practicing it at all, So in the next 10 years after not doing that skill at all, you're probably gonna be a little rusty, correct? Shifting is the same way. From the start of our birth, we have not been taught about shifting. Most of us have not been taught about shifting. We have never been practicing it. So it's never been programmed to be normal for us. It's never been programmed to be a common, normal, daily use skill. So because we've never exercised the skill, it seems like we don't have it. Simply doesn't mean that the skill doesn't exist already within us. For example, most human beings have the ability and the skill to be a gymnast. If I wanted to be a gymnast, I could be a gymnast if I wanted to. It's going to take me some practice and work and effort in order to get there because I've never practiced the skill that could become within me. Okay, I guess shifting could be a skill that you need to develop, but that doesn't mean that we all don't have the ability to shift, which is not my first language, so sometimes I mix up some words. Therefore, we all have the ability to shift. We might just need to develop by practicing. Number 24, which may be a little controversial, group shifting is easy. I honestly think group shifting is not as easy as it is told by other people. Personally, I have never tried group shifting before, but when thinking of the logistics of it, it's just not as possible as normally shifting. Let me explain. Even the tiniest variation in a reality makes it a different reality. So let's say me and my best friend want to group shift. We are group shifting to a waiting room that's a beautiful, serene forest, okay? And we both have the same script. We're both thinking of the same stuff, that we're gonna do this and that. But let's say I imagined myself with light brown hair, and she's imagining me with a little bit darker hair. And when she shifts, she's visualizing that, and I'm visualizing my light brown hair. Even that one little detail will make us shift to completely different realities. And the definition of group shifting is usually shifting to the same reality, if not at the same time. And it's impossible to share brains with someone. You cannot fully intend to go to the same reality. Even if you're visualizing the serene forest and one of the friends in this group visualizes one tree out of place, they're going to a completely different reality. And I've seen some people get basically canceled when saying that group shifting might not be as possible as we seem, but I'm here to tell you that I also think the same thing. While I'm not discrediting anybody who's done it before or who wants to do it, I still think it is possible, but I think it will take more effort to actually connect intentions with someone that spiritually. Lastly, number 25, that scripting relationships is not good, it's not real, it's fake. Since you already exist in whatever reality you're going to, you already have that relationship with the person that you want to be dating. So if you're scripting that you're dating some celebrity and then you think that that might be wrong, like, oh, this celebrity, it's like you're exploiting them or it's fake, you're creating this feeling, you're forcing them into it. No, because you are already dating or married or whatnot to that person out there, and now you're just switching your awareness to that your DR self that is married or dating that person. It's not you being weird or you creating something fake. You can't create anything. You're just going to something that's already created. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed and I hope you got some insight from this video. I know that there's a lot of misinformation out there. So if you ever hear anything, feel free to comment, DM me, make a video about it, tag me, whatever you want. I would love to answer your questions, and if you ever feel like you're being misled or that something doesn't feel right, trust your gut and figure out what it may be. Remember that shifting is a personal spiritual journey. We do not need other people to be a part of our journey in order to be successful. Meditators meditate alone in a blank, completely isolated place. And that's the kind of mindset that we should have when shifting, because it is also a spiritual practice just like that. So if you ever feel discredited or demotivated by somebody else's words, always remember that this journey is only within you and nobody's ever going to make you shift. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you like. Have a great day. Bye.